So President-elect Donald Trump will not return to the Oval Office for another 2 months. A lot can and will go down between now and then in an effort to reassure the American voting majority that they will not, or so they will be cashing in on Trump 2.0's campaign promises and will not be getting the watered down 2016 to 20 Trump OG varietal. This weekend, he broke them off. The little fire and brimstone speech. In a statement aired across social media networks, Trump unveiled what he called his plan to restore law and order. Now, this is something I think we all agree needs to be done. I mean, what kind of banana republic are we living in where a 34-count convicted felon, fraudster, and rapist was able to incompetently stumble his way back into the highest office of our land? Something's got to give. Donald Trump is the man to do it.
Oh, boy.
He said a lot of things in this wide-ranging, 5-minute-long weaving diatribe of a live post, so I highlighted the parts most relevant to us in the cannabis industry. In an effort to reverse Joe Biden and the defund the police Democrats' existing war on police, Trump said that he'll be making a record investment into nationwide police hiring and training. This will not be a handout. Said investments will be quid pro quo in exchange for precincts that agreed to implement a new blanket immunity plan for police officers, protecting them from all liability. I guess we're just supposed to forget about Joe Biden's $5 billion discretionary blank check to enforcement agencies nationwide back in 2023, but that's old news. We're talking about Trump now. To qualify for the money, precincts must enforce his proposed nationwide stop and frisk mandate, because I guess the Fourth Amendment is no longer valid either. His next proposal was something I don't really mind. He said that he plans on going after the, quote, radical left police offices, and he'd be giving small business owners that have been pillaged the ability to sue local enforcement agencies for harm and suffering, and they'll be entitled to massive damages for reported instances of refusal to protect their assets. Well, I still don't have much faith in local cops stepping up to protect legal cannabis businesses. If he does put something like this in place, a paper trail of accountability can be used to track officers and departments refusing to protect dispensaries from theft and robberies like they would any mainstream business over the last few years. Then finally, death penalties for drug dealers. A lot of you guys said that this was just rhetoric and he was just ratcheting this up in an effort to revel the base, but no, he is double, triple, and quadrupling down on it now. Perhaps Trump's most controversial proposal of this speech was mentioned twice in the 5-minute, 20-second clip. He said that implementing the death penalty for drug dealers is so important, direct quote, for stopping America's breakdown of law and order, and it's necessary to dismantle every cartel and illegal gang in our country. This is a clever point inserted by who I assume to be Stephen Miller writing this speech. It gives Trump an out and relieves him of the inevitable liability that'll come his way if cartels and illegal gangs aren't completely eradicated from our nation. And he'll be blaming any sort of failure to do so on the radical leftists who hate America, all because he was given the power to, because he was never given the power to fully enforce death upon all drug dealers involved. In the past, Trump's made several statements praising dictators that the authority to use the death penalty, for their authority to use the death penalty at will. Now he says he'll be doing the same. Pretty normal stuff. Exit polls show that he did a great job of playing up America's emotionally driven, out of control violence while ignoring what real data revealed. Yes, it's true. Certain larger cities, LA being one of them, have been plagued by spikes in crime, and it needs to be addressed. But overall, the numbers are way down, especially in all the places that voted for him. It'll be very interesting to see how much of these policies actually make it into law, but given that we're not even a week removed from last week's election and still got another 2 months before inauguration, I think it's safe to say that Americans will not be getting any breaks from the drama between now and then. I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High at 9 News. What are you guys' thoughts?
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
Stop.
What do you think?
Go ahead, Matthew. Go ahead.
Cops.
What's that?
This is great because this is, if anybody remembers, I don't know about you, but in high school, one of the things my social studies and history teachers would always point out is how we're not Nazi Germany and how we're not the Soviet Union. And you can freely travel in America without ever having to furnish paperwork to the authorities, provided you're not breaking the law. This is great because it brings us in line with the Gestapo and Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union and other right-wing authoritarian dictatorships. That's what stop and frisk is, Jason. Stop and frisk is stop you on the street for nothing, require your paperwork, and then decide whether or not to detain or arrest you. And I just want to say that today is day one of St. Germain and Rico's new show on the Height 9 News called We Told You So, and you said it wouldn't happen, and it did.
Oh, God.
You said it wouldn't happen, Jason. So I'm gonna cede the floor to you, and please explain to me how it is happening, even though you said it wasn't going to happen.
First of all, I'm going to start it off with a big old super chat from Joe Mackey. Much love. Thank you so much, Joe Mackey, who says, crybaby. Cute Joe Mackey.
I'm down.
Yeah.
Rico can ref. Anyone who wants to talk shit in the chat and come up and say Jermaine, I will whoop your ass. Guaranteed.
Oh, you just calm down, Matthew St. Germain. It's going to be all right. You know what? The reality is that crime.
If you want to fuck around,
crime has grown so immensely under this Biden-Harris regime. There has been a lack of prosecutions from all of these woke district attorney's office. Thank God, LA got rid of. Hold on, I'm going to finish speaking. Thank God, LA got rid of George Gascon.
Say stuff like that. Give us the facts.
There is facts.
Cities, like I pointed out in the story,
we have.
But overall, it is not.
That's not true. That's not true.
Crazy and out of control, like he's saying, and especially it has happened in places.
In all major cities, Rico, is what I've stated. In major woke ass cities, like I stated, major woke ass cities, Chicago being one of them, Los Angeles being one of them, New York being one of them, Denver, Colorado being one of them.
Places that didn't vote for Trump.
You know what's funny is I actually saw a really interesting meme in all the states that voted for Harris that were blue states are all states that don't have voter ID.
Oh my God.
Just saying.
Right, Jason's a cop. He voted for fucking stop and frisk and federal police everywhere.
The federal government is not big enough to have federal police everywhere, bro. That is, you're just gaslighting people. That is not a reality. No, they will not. Stop it. Stop it. Just like they're going to give all the drug dealers the death penalty. You guys are.
Yarrow, what you got for us, brother?
Yep. Nothing to say. Cat got your tongue, Yarrow?
No, I think we need to be honest with ourselves.
Exactly. Thank you.
Each other. And one of those honest things is when we are talking about increases or decreases in crime, the statistics, the numbers, the source of those numbers, and the change in those statistics over time has to be broken out. Because if you're talking about an increase in the breaking of windshields in San Francisco, it's gone up. But I'm more worried about homicides and violent crime. Mm-hmm. So there's that, right? If you spout out a half truth because it's not complete, it doesn't mean that it's not wrong. It just means you didn't eat your Wheaties when you came on before the show, right? I was eating my Wheaties.
Rico obviously didn't have his Wheaties today.
So Rico is gluten-free, so he had something else. But that's okay with me. The thing that I think is most important in this is that, first of all, if Matthew St. Germain gets frisky with someone, I don't sit on the sidelines and judge. I come in like that little Mexican midget that you see in the movies, and I'm throwing blows. Two, the other thing I think is important is on this one point, I think it is not refutable, irrespective of partisan affiliation. Stop and frisk, which was really expanded in a very pronounced way under Mayor Rudy Giuliani.
Yep.
Was deemed, I believe, and bear with me, viewers, because I'm only on my first cup, was deemed unconstitutional, and I believe it was under the Fourth Amendment. And again, I am not caffeinated enough to be my best today, because it was it was a violation of unreasonable search and seizure. Mm-hmm. So typically, we are told that unless there's probable cause or law enforcement knows that there's an actual crime happening, that citizens have sovereignty over their castle, their pockets, their vehicle, etc. And so when somebody says stop and frisk is unconstitutional, it's actually not a massive stretch, because I believe that was rolled back specifically because it didn't include due process and because it was fishing, and there wasn't anything where law enforcement could say, well, we're searching you specifically because we think that you specifically are doing X, Y, and Z. And so I think what's really important in this country is to remember that one of the things that makes this country great is the idea that our system of justice and our democracy, as imperfect and as ripe for adjustment as it is still better than most of the other systems in many of the other countries, whatever, 180 countries across the world. And part of that is this idea of due process, where we are innocent until proven guilty, where we need to be found guilty in front of our peers, that we have these basic foundational rights that cannot be infringed upon. And one of those is unreasonable search and seizure.
And what about the death penalty? We have not talked about the death penalty here.
What's the problem with the death penalty now, Rico?
How?
Well, the problem with the death penalty is twofold. The first problem is that it costs way more money, because most people who get given the death penalty end up sitting on death row for 25 or 30 years.
I think that's a fair criticism.
With 6 figures of appeals every year, and it turns out that they don't get the death penalty, and all you've done is put them in a much more expensive category of prisoner. And so if you're thinking that you're just going to give someone the death penalty and 3, 4, 5 years from now they're going to get the lethal injection, that's not happening. The next problem is we found that many of the ways they dispatch people aren't exactly humane, and so that's the other part. The third problem is you look at the number of people who are on death row, and you look at them and you contrast them with the makeup of the American citizenry, and there are some questions about whether this pretty archaic method of punishment is being equally metered out amongst all American constituents. And then lastly, we have to ask ourselves, is this a humane practice? And I personally don't think that I have a fully formed opinion. I do think that when you look at things like the Innocence Project and things like that, it's pretty scary that there are people who are serving time for crimes they didn't commit. And when you give the government the ultimate power to be able to take life, that is a very slippery slope at best. Now, all of that being said, if somebody came and raped my mother, my daughter, and my wife, I probably would want them to have the death penalty.
See?
So I do think that personal pain affects people's perspective about what is a reasonable outcome.
There we go.
A question: Can we have a show of hands here? Who thinks the last 45 years of the drug war has worked at all? To do anything other than create super billionaire cartels and fund the CIA and unfairly imprison people of color and strip them of their rights?
I think it's unfairly imprisoned people of all colors, Matthew St. Germain. I don't think it's just one color.
War worked?
No, I don't believe that the drug war has worked, and I believe a majority of Americans believe that the drug war is a complete failure.
Okay, and so, but
so what are you saying?
To then accelerate the same drug war that is.
This is not accelerating the same drug war. The drug war is accelerated. We have a mass fentanyl overload across our country, and we need to combat that.
Fentanyl overload, Jason.
What was the question, Matthew?
Why do we have a fentanyl overload?
Because of China.
Thank you for an overly simplistic answer. No, the reason we have a fentanyl overload is because the CIA working with drug cartels to bring cocaine into America, creating super
fentanyl comes from China and then through Mexico across the border to the U.S.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Through those same cartels that became super organizations through smuggling cocaine.
That's fair.
To the U.S. with the complicity of the U.S. government under Ronald Reagan and George Bush.
So what's the point? Now he's calling for the death penalty for those cartels. What's the problem with that?
No, he said all drug dealers.
For drug dealers, Jason. He's calling for
Bro, if you guys think that he's talking about your average person with a pound of weed, you guys are asinine.
Dude,
you guys are crazy.
The delusion and the cope in your
You
mind
guys are
so
crazy.
amazing, Jason.
Cray.
This is just like flash forward to a week ago when you said stop and frisk was a talking point that would never happen. That's what you said, Jason. And anyone on the chat.
First of all, stop and frisk. Stop and frisk. First of all, stop and frisk. If you get pulled over, stop doesn't include stop and frisk.
Go and look, and they can see where Jason and Jenny Beth Dills both said that stop and frisk was a minor talking point.
It is a minor talking point.
That would not happen.
It's not going to happen.
Said it would not happen.
Stop and frisk, first of all, is only for people when you're standing on the street. It's not when you're driving around in cars.
Fantasizes about
Jason,
at night when he's alone, touching himself. His fever dream of the new Orange Fuhrer.
I mean,
shut up.
Frisk is my new dating policy.
Hold on. In the speech, he specifically said that in order for any of these cops to get the money that he is, the unprecedented amount of money that he is promising to give to all of them, they must obey by his nationwide stop and frisk implementation.
Yep.
If they want $1 of the money he's promising them, they need to crack down now. His exact words in this, Jason.
Well, we have a super chat in from the Cole Memo who says the iron law of prohibition is the cause of fent. You guys, and on that, we're gonna go into a commercial and we're gonna be right back.